You may have played poker, but playing poker in Texas is a different animal. This is the Texas Poker Podcast with Tyler and Clint.
Hello, this is the Texas Poker Podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Clint.
What's up, y'all?
And we are back.
And we are back, and you are actually back from your vacation over there in Connecticut, where you played some poker at a different place.
Yeah, I actually went and played at Mohegan Sun. I thought I was going to play at both Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods, but I ended up playing at Mohegan Sun's twice.
Oh, I wish we would have done Foxwoods, just because I've always heard of Foxwoods and all that. But Mohegan Sun, I'd still want a perspective on how it is to play anywhere outside of Texas, really.
Well, it's pretty cool because when I went there, they've actually moved the poker room since I've been there last. But last time I was there was 7 years ago. So apparently they moved. This is the third time they moved it since I've been there.
Yeah. Seems about right for casinos. So here is a question I have. It's like we always watch these vlogs and like casinos. Some of them look so shitty and some of them look so nice. Which is this kind of scale towards?
Oh, Mohegan Sun's definitely on the nice side.
Okay, because I always get like such a different perspective depending on where we're at, what we're looking at.
But are you talking about the poker room by itself or just the casino?
Well, I figured they would kind of blend into each other, but I guess I was thinking about the casino if I had to.
Well, the casino is very nice. The poker room I would kind of describe as just a giant open area. I mean, it's nice, but it's just a very big open area. So there's plenty of room to walk around. And it's really nice because they have a ton of people. Like when they call your name, because the lists are huge, but they move pretty quick. But they have walkie-talkies, and someone flags you down and walks you to this table. That's really nice.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so whenever you don't know where to go, someone just waves instantly, and then you know exactly where to go.
Okay, it sounds like a pretty well-run poker room, I will say.
And so here were some of the interesting experiences I had, too, when I was playing. So I went and played in the 2-5 game, right? And you know how whenever we play in Texas, you'd just put money on the table, and then they would give you the chips that next hand?
Right.
So I couldn't hear the dealer, so I ended up looking like the biggest noob ever, right? So I think I added on for like 700 or something. And, foreshadowing, never great. But but no, this is coming from the 1-3 or 1-2. They had 1-2 and 2-5. There was no 1-3.
It's kind of interesting.
But I had 3 sessions, man.
I was thinking, it seemed like you played more than 2 sessions. I was thinking that when you said that, but I couldn't be certain. But it seemed like you were there quite a bit for it to only be 2 sessions.
Yeah, no, I definitely, thinking back on it, I can tell you about me storming out. So,
that should be interesting.
But in the 2-5, this was one thing that I found interesting though. So, I put the money on the table and I had like, let's just say 525, right? I couldn't hear the dealer, but what he said was cash plays at the 2-5 game.
Oh, okay.
Like the hundreds play.
Right.
I didn't hear him, so I just kept handing him the hundreds to give me chips.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, I don't want to sit there with $100 bills and use that the entire time. So I still think it would be the normal thing, even if cash does play. I mean, most of the times I've seen, like, people have chips, but they just have cash for, like, a gigantic pot or something.
Well, there's one hand that might be next episode we end up talking about it, but where I raised, but, I had about 300 in chips, but I had 700 in hundreds behind.
Oh, okay.
So that definitely added kind of a different element to it.
Okay.
And I saw, that kind of happened a few times because you don't have to spread the hundreds out, which is kind of weird. I mean, I guess I don't know how you would. It's just kind of weird to me whenever the hundreds play because it's hard to tell how many hundreds anyone has.
That is very true. I guess that would be one reason like you wouldn't want cash playing is just because of that reasoning is like, I mean, well, you could just easily hide like a bill in like I mean, I don't know. It seems like that could be used to angle quite a bit if somebody really wanted to.
Or what happened to me is, I added on 500 or 600 in the middle, not in the middle of a hand, but, in the session. Mm-hmm. But to everyone else who didn't see it, I mean, the dealer saw, but they he never announced anything or anything. They just let me just put it on the table and play. So
that's kind of weird. I wonder if that's a mess up by the dealer, because it seems like that's something that should be announced, right?
I would think so, but I mean, everyone saw me take my, well, not everyone, but the dealer saw me take my wallet out and put cash right in there. So I just thought that was interesting.
I mean, it's interesting on that. I will say this: whenever the Vegas casinos that did have cash, I don't know how that many of them do anymore. I think maybe Golden Nugget cash plays. I know Venetian used to, but I always thought it was really cool when you could just have like cash that, you know, just played like that. So I always thought it added like a cool factor, but seems like it would be kind of problems as well. I could see why they wouldn't do it as well.
I've always thought it would be cool to play with cash. I'm sure I've done it before, but you know, you watch high stakes poker and they all have the bricks of cash and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It feels kind of lame whenever you just have 4 $100 bills and they have to
fair.
break the change. I'm just like, well,
That's fair, yeah. I mean, it's the thought of it's cool, but I mean, I don't. Okay, so it's just hundreds that play, or
correct, just hundreds.
huh?
But it's a 2-5 game. You can only have so many hundreds, and I don't know. I thought it would be a lot cooler than in practice. I was kind of like, this is a little lame. It'd be a little bit cooler just to have black chips, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
Instead of me shuffling all these papers around. And they're like, how much do you have behind? I'm like, I don't even know, man.
Yeah, I grabbed some shit out of my wallet. And
I'm just putting hundreds on here every time I lose.
I mean, I will say I like that it's that easy to add on. I mean, just the fact that you throw money out there and it's already there. I mean, I know in our Texas poker rooms, it's not like it's hard. You put the money there and they call for brush and all that. But it is kind of nice just immediately having it right then and there.
Absolutely. But I just thought that was, you know, kind of showing my newness to the casino there.
It kind of, well, I mean, it's almost like it kind of helps you out though, because I mean, it makes you look way newer than you are.
Yeah, I mean, people are playing with us pretty good. A lot of really good players in that 2-5 game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The 1-2 game was good though. I could hold my own in the lowest stakes available.
I mean, look at you go. I knew we didn't do this for nothing.
So I have a few interesting hands for you, some hands of note, as I guess they would say. These hands are going to sound a little weird without some context behind them. Okay. So let me kind of... So before this, I've been kind of battling back and forth. This one player has been kind of steaming the whole time, right?
Okay.
I had a few times where I had nice overbets, and he really got... I mean, he got angry enough to where he had to storm off and run around for a bit. So whenever I see that, I'm going to do it again and again.
Okay.
So here we go. I didn't put my position. Well, it'll make sense in a second. So I have ace king. The guy to my right opens to 25. I 3-bet him to 75.
Okay, I like this. Seems standard.
And then somebody flat calls behind me.
That's always a weird spot.
And the original razor folds.
Okay, so a player bets 25. You must be playing 2-5 for this to be a race.
Yes.
Okay. You make it 7. You 3-bet to 75, a very standard 3-bet, and then a player cold calls. And what about the original razor?
He folds.
He folds. Okay.
So this is already kind of a weird spot. The flop comes ace, queen, 5 with 2 spades. How much are you betting here? You're gonna hate how much I bet, but
all right. Do you remember if you were in position or out of position here?
Let me see. Oh, you did ask me that. I was.
You said you didn't put your position, but I would just like in for this hand, like if you were in or out on this one.
Believe I was out of position.
Okay, so out of position in a 3-bet pot, your standard bet sizing should be around 50%. And considering this is a board that I don't think... This is a board that favors you a lot. I think I'm going to like 50% or lower. Yeah, actually, I kind of like 50% here. I'd go about 50% pot.
I overbet pot. I bet 200. You're just right about pot, but
Okay. So 200. Well, okay. So 75, 150. So it's and then 175. Okay. So you overbet pot by a little bit. So just okay. Give me your reasoning because I don't get it.
Just to piss him off.
I mean, you're right. I don't like this bet size that much. I think it should be 50%, mostly because most of his hands have so little equity here, and you're blocking a lot of what he could have on not a super draw heavy board. But I'm guessing he calls if this hand's in the deal.
He does not call. He storms off, cussing, and runs away.
Yeah.
No. And then you know what was even worse is then he comes back and then punts away his whole stack from the steam. So he loses like another 1,000.
Okay. Adds
on another 1,000. Then this hand happens right after it.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, dang, that's pretty unfortunate, you know? What's it called? He he kind of tilted off, but to the wrong person, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's usually, shit, if there's 9 people at a poker table, guess what? There's 7. I mean, you're not very likely to be on the receiving end of that. Well, usually. You're hoping you are, but usually you're not.
Right, because I've been doing that to him before, and he had called off a hand before, and then this one gets super interesting.
Okay.
So this guy comes back, steaming. I mean, just so mad, cussing, everything, the whole thing, right?
Okay.
I'm in the big blind, and I have 6-8 offsuit. Folds all around. He's on the button. He tries to make it 25, but doesn't announce it. He throws a chip in, and the dealer says, no, that's just a call. The small blind just completes the 5, and I check. I flop nut straight.
Oh, wow. This is amazing.
He bets 30 on the flop. I only call.
Wait, he's on the button, so it checks to him,
yes,
and then he bets 30. Okay.
I call, and the other guy calls.
This is a gigantic bet in this pot, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it's like 15 in the pot,
yep.
And then he bets 30.
Correct.
God damn, in these small blind calls.
Correct. And we're sitting here with the nuts.
Did you think about raising here?
I thought about it, but I was, what do they say, laying the sticks, putting the brush down, set in my trap.
I don't hate it. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I definitely think raising should be a thought, but I don't hate this at all. Okay, so what happens next?
The turn is a king.
That's a beautiful turn for you.
Checks to him. He bets 65.
Okay, so he bets 65. What does a small blind do?
He folds. So how much are you raising it to here? Because now this just hit him. He tried to raise early pre-flop. He didn't. I'm thinking
this is going to be a pretty small raise here for me. The reasoning being is like the stronger your range is here, the lower your raise. Because, it's going to be just so... you're most of the time, when you're betting this, it's going to have more value than bluffs. I'm probably... If he makes it 65, I'm probably raising it to 195. Maybe like 150.
Yeah, see, because he was so mad about the $200 bet, I made it 200 again.
Okay, I don't hate it. I would prefer a smaller raise, but I don't hate it either.
Yeah, and then he loses his mind completely. Just starts cussing at the dealer. I'm worried I might get punched at this point, right?
God, if only my wishes could come true here.
But here's where you kind of get to see the difference between the 1-2 players and the 2-5 players.
Okay.
He folds a king face up and then takes his chips and goes home.
Yeah, that's a good fold. Definitely a good fold for him right there. That's a very tough. Your raise shows a tremendous strength, but like you say, the 1-3 players, they're stacking off with top pair, especially when they turn it.
Oh, 100%. And this guy, had been blasting off, bluffing. Every hand I'd seen he'd been bluffing. Just had been dumping money. I thought for sure I'm doubling up here. This guy was off. Lost his mind.
Yeah.
Everyone at the table was talking about it. The dealers were talking about it. He apparently, I guess that's just, I don't want to say his thing, but definitely not out of the norm for him.
Okay. Well, we all know players like that.
But yeah, he makes the fold. Good fold for him.
Definitely a really good fold, especially for someone like you, where you've been over betting and it seems like could be bluff. Because it's got to be going through your mind all the time. Like, you can't have it every time.
Oh,
which is what you're counting on with that big bet.
100%.
So, which I don't mind the big bet like I say, there's a time to do it exploitatively, and that's probably a pretty good time to do it exploitatively. Like I say, I think I like a smaller raise and then call, inflate the pot, and then really just hammer it home on the river. But I can see your reasoning for the size you chose.
Yeah, like I said, I just was hoping he was going to be all on his emotions and just punt it away, but I was wrong. But now here's, maybe one of the most interesting hands of the whole trip, really.
Okay.
So I'm in the small blind with aces. Let's see. This is not the right hand. I was like, wait a second. Okay. Well, it's still interesting, but it's not the hand I was hoping for. But I'm in the small blind with aces. I make it 27. I get 2 callers. The flop comes 7-7-10. I bet 35. I get 1 caller. The turn is an ace. So I have aces full of sevens.
Okay.
I check. He bets 50. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess once you check and he bets... I think I like a raise here. Because, okay, let's say it's going to look like you hit an ace when you raise. It's definitely not putting you on a full boat. You don't have that many sevens. So, if he has a 7, you're basically getting all the money. You're basically going to get all the money. I think I like a raise.
I make it 125.
I like your sizing here, too.
He calls instantly. The river is a queen. How much are you betting here?
So I think my normal would be 2/3 pot. Is there any reason to... But when you raise there and he calls...
I'm thinking he has a 7 here all day.
This might be a good time to overbet.
That's what I was thinking.
I probably am going more towards standard, maybe a little over 2/3, maybe around like 75-80%. But if you overbet here, I definitely can see your reasoning here.
I bet 400.
What was the pot, you think?
Let's see.
27.
So let's call it
75.
33.69 over some limper. So we'll call it 100 in there. Make it 35. So it's 40. So that's 140-ish. 50. So that's 140. It's 240, 340. Oh, well. I don't even overbet pot.
Yeah, I was like, this pot's gonna be pretty big. I don't think it's like I was trying to pin it down on how big of an overbet it was.
It was just under pot.
Oh, okay.
By about $50.
Well, shit, then you're basically betting exactly what I said then.
Well, it felt like a lot. I haven't played 2-5 in a while. It felt like a big bet. Turns out it wasn't a big bet, but it felt like a big bet in the moment.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot at my 1-2 game.
Yeah.
But so here's something interesting. So he's tanking forever, right? And he thinks that I'm betting him off of a chop here. He hit the ace. So he would have 2 pair aces and sevens with a queen kicker.
I mean, unless you have exactly ace queen, this is very weird for this to be betting off of a chop. I mean,
well, no, but any lesser aces would all be chopping with him. So he must have ace jack, ace 10, something
his
like
queen
that.
should play.
No. So we both have a pair of aces, and the board is paired. So it's ace, ace, 7, 7, and the queen is the kicker.
Yeah, so his queen plays.
Not his queen, but the board, the queen on the river plays.
Oh, the board's a queen. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying he had ace queen. Yeah, I gotcha.
No. He only showed an ace, and he said, "I think you're trying to bet me off of a chop here."
I mean, it's kind of a legitimate thought here, right? I mean, I don't think this is all kind of crazy thought. I mean, it's kind of light for how this hand has gone. But that being said, I mean, what do you really have here? I mean, you don't have that many sevens here. I mean, could you have? But I mean, you could have like ace king. I mean, here's the thing: is I'm not sure ace king would.
Yeah, this would be super risky with ace king here.
Yeah, it's ace jack. I don't know. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I really hate that line of thinking, because I just don't know that an ace is going to fire this much into a pot like this. I mean, just why? I mean, you're getting called by usually way better.
I would just thought it was interesting. I thought he had a 7 here for sure, and I thought he was snap calling that 400. He folds an ace face up.
We got to get your bets a little smaller, because that's twice that somebody's kind of gotten away from a monster hand with those bet sizes.
Well, I mean, like I said, I thought he had a 7 all day whenever he calls that raise for that size.
I definitely thought it's a possibility. I mean, I was leaning more towards 7 than an ace, especially considering you have pocket aces.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, on this exact hand, I do kind of like that, because he is more likely to have a 7 there somehow, some way.
I mean, I definitely thought so, but let's see. Well, that was actually about it for that session. Let me see.
It sounds like a pretty good session. I mean, it was mostly all winning hands, so tell me that you got a profit for that session.
I did.
Okay.
I think I won a little bit over 500.
That's nice. That's a nice way to start that poker trip.
Let me tell you about the first session, the 1-2 session that I played before this one. This one was the one I had the better notes on.
Okay.
Because this next one is pretty interesting. I mean, there's really only 2 hands a note.
Okay.
I'm playing 1-2. I buy him for 300. Didn't realize that that's the table maximum. You know, there's people there with over 1,000 in front of them. You know, some guy almost had 2,000.
Damn.
I end up in a situation where I 3-bet kings, get 4-bet, or get called 4-bet, just all the money goes in, right? 3-way
Okay.
all in. I have pocket kings versus queens versus ace jack of spades. I get a triple up.
Fucking light for that ace jack of spades, it seems like, in a 4-bet pot.
Yeah.
Very, very nice, though.
He had like $200, and he was already in for like 80 or something.
Okay.
It was something
that
like
makes way
that.
more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
So I'm sitting on a giant stack, right?
Okay.
You have the typical casino rag guys who are just crying and crying every time they lose a hand. Then I'm up quite a bit after that hand, and then I get pocket 8s, and the flop comes 10, 8, 10, 8, deuce. Me and this guy end up getting all the money in on the flop. He has pocket 10s, I have pocket 8s. I end up losing $75 on the session after being up so much. It's pretty hurtful.
Pretty hurtful, but I mean, I tell you what, the other way to look at it is a session where you get set over set, and you're only down $75 is not the worst.
Right, but here's what led to my storm off is So everyone there has way over $300 in front of them.
Okay.
So I try adding on $300 on top of my like $200 stack. Get the chips from the cage, come back because cash doesn't play. I put it on the table. The deep stack on the table says, "Oh no, you can't add on that much. You can only put it to 300." Dealer saw. He didn't say anything. No one else said anything.
Right.
And then all the guy that I was on his left did not want me adding on any money, so I just said, "Well, I guess I'll leave then." So I just left. I was kind of annoyed. That was kind of an annoying situation, but I mean, I guess those are the rules, right? But still, found it annoying.
I mean, I don't know if those are the rules, and I don't.
Well, no. I'm saying I find that rule annoying.
Oh, the rule itself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I can agree with that.
Because I remember we talked about that one episode when you were in Vegas or something, or I was in Vegas. One of us, this rule has come back and gotten me. I find that just so annoying.
Agreed. I mean,
like if it's not matched the stack, I find that just so annoying.
Well, I mean, but okay, I can see the reasoning for it too.
Oh, I would love to hear it because I can't even imagine.
Okay, like basically, we're going to go from a recreational perspective because that's I think who this rule is for. So let's say you're a recreational player and it's $300 and you don't play that often, or just getting into it or something like that. Well, let's say someone makes it 1,000 or like buys in for 1,000, another 1,000. Well, now it's kind of the same thing where you're playing short stack, like how we talk about like in the 5-5 game. I mean, 500 is not 100 big blinds because the raise size are going to be so big. So, I mean, isn't it kind of for the kind of recreational player to keep it to a certain level of there?
But aren't I still in the same problem whenever everyone's sitting there with over 1,000 and I can only buy them for 300 and now all the raises everyone's straddling in the game is way bigger and I only have 300 now? Because now I'm in that situation. Now I'm sitting here playing with what would it be like 150 big blinds or whatever.
I guess my argument would be I guess they won that money. I mean, since they can't put that money on the table.
Oh, trust me, I know. They're looking at the guy whose money it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So.
Now, from an EV perspective, it makes no sense. From a poker player's perspective, it makes no sense because at the end of the day, you're only playing your stack, and if you're worried about that, I mean, then you wait till they make it raise big, and they're raising big every hand with lighter hands. You wait till you have a monster, and then you shove.
No, 100%.
So from an EV perspective, it ceases to matter, and it doesn't matter. I was more like gunning for like kind of the recreational player's perspective. Like, I mean, yeah, like recreational players, if they want to get some play for their money, it's kind of tough. But like you said, it kind of already did that regardless because everybody's been there. I mean, it just sounds like there's no wrecks in that. Sounds like a shitty game to be in.
Oh, I mean, it was. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the 1-2 game, there was definitely a lot of not great players, but they had a lot of money. I mean, the game had been going. I mean, that's the nature whenever you get there at 1 a.m. or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's kind of the time when like everybody's been playing and built up a stack and all
right.
that, and all the ones who lost, they're already just gone.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's okay. Like we always say we're really blessed to have like Texas poker. Like, what do you think of the players versus like Texas poker players?
Which ones, the 1-2 or the 2-5?
Let's go 1-2 first.
The 1-2 game was very standard to a Texas game.
So your average is not a great player, most of it, and then you have like 1 or 2 super kind of crazy stupid players, and then maybe 1 or 2 decent players. That's what I would that's what I would think about like a 1-2 game, like a 1-2, 1-3 game is that's how I feel about it here.
You definitely would have the players who were waiting for the 2-5 as well.
Uh-huh.
So, and then you also have some players who were down on their luck in the 2-5, so they had to go back down to stakes, and they were pretty good.
Okay.
But yeah, you definitely had the drunk people. You definitely had. And here's the thing that I normally say when I say like versus the casino versus Texas is it seems like the casino players normally don't have the amount of money that the Texas players have, but all these people seem to have lots of money.
Okay.
Because I noticed a lot of I smacked my own mic. Trying to make a point that's not that serious, but it seemed like whenever I play in Vegas, like a lot of them would not buy in for like the 300. They might do the 100, 150. It seemed like everyone here had, I mean, like I said before, tons of money. Then when I went to play after, everyone kind of bought in for 300 on my next 2-5 games when I was waiting to get on it. It's very similar, very similar.
Okay, so what about the 2-5 game?
Very good players in the 2-5 game.
That might be kind of where we're blessed, is you can play like bigger stakes where it's not. Well, one is our 1-3 is bigger than the average 1-2, 1-3 at a casino, and then like the bigger stakes, I think you can still get some kind of good games, whereas the casino it's kind of tougher.
Well, and like you heard about my hands, so I'm exploitatively betting giant there. That just gets snap called. I think a lot of times in Texas, where I don't have to think about it, I can just bet big and people just shrug call.
It's gonna happen way more often, 100%.
I mean, especially when a player I'm not doing a great job expressing like how tilted this guy was.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I would have bet all the money that he just punts off his stack to me there.
I mean, it sounded like he was in that mode. I mean, it definitely sounded like it was, especially to someone like you, where you've been overbetting a ton. Like,
especially because I've been overbetting him particularly as well. So I like really thought it would get him, but I mean,
I think it would get me.
I mean,
there's a certain point where if somebody keeps doing this, I have to make it. I mean, and I've got the hand. I've got to make a stand at some point. I mean, like they can't have it every time. You're going to have to put someone to the test. So, I mean, definitely a great fold by him because I think, being in his shoes, I think you probably get a call from me.
Oh, I do too, especially like just a few hands apart. Like, I mean, I'm constantly. I mean, it just happened to work out that it was always against the guy who was tilting where I made good hands.
Yeah.
But it looked really suspicious.
Yeah, I love it when that happens because it's happened to me a couple times where it's just like whenever I make a hand, it's against that same person. And you're right, it looks super suspicious. And I know it looks suspicious because if I was in that guy's shoes, I would think it's got to, like, at least some of this has got to be bullshit too.
Yeah, but he still made the discipline fold, even in the middle of losing his mind, running around screaming.
Yeah.
And showing the king. I'm like, God,
well,
man.
And this would say like the overbet like would also work because here's the thing: in that perspective, I would never be bluffing because I think it would be like too suspicious and he would get a call. Which means if I'm never bluffing there, then you should be betting big because you're never bluffing because you think you're getting called light.
Yeah, that's true. But that was kind of the big difference is that when like the players who weren't in the middle of losing their mind were all playing. You had like maybe two kind of actiony players, but everyone else was playing very correct. Like there was a lot of times where it just fold to the button kind of thing, which you almost never see in Texas games.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, trust me, I definitely get that.
Yeah, and there was, I mean, not more often than not, but it was not uncommon to have it folding to the button.
Yeah, that's like kind of like the Vegas thing. Like when it happens there, and like it's like, what do you do in Texas? I'm like, it's not a thing in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, this is never folding to the blinds in Texas. I mean, I play so goddamn much poker. I see it like 5 times in 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, what's it called? If it folds one time all the way through the next hand, someone's betting in the dark blind just because they hate that.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I guess, do you have any? I want to save my next session for the next podcast, just so I don't pile in all my hands into or just one after another, just listing them off for you.
So on last Thursday, was it last Thursday? I think so. I did a live stream.
Yeah, I believe it was Thursday.
It's and I tell you, like, it was a Champions live stream, and I'm loving their live stream. I tell you, one I really liked. They had such a great commentator. There was a guy I'd never heard of, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I tuned in to watch you play because I was at a wedding that night, and I mean, I was listening to his commentary. I was like, I mean, that guy seemed so good.
It was one of the best I've heard. I was really looking at my hands and reviewing them just to see what he said about them. And it looked like he kind of jutted for the 5-10 like later in the stream. I was like so sad because I wanted to see what he thought about certain moves.
And when I say he was so good, it seemed like his analysis of the hands was so good. It wasn't like he was being overly entertaining. It was like his knowledge was so great. That was kind of more.
Oh, well, like I was talking to somebody, and they're like, he's only 20 years old, and they're like, he plays 5,100.
I mean, based on his analysis, I believe it.
I mean, 100%. It was absolutely. So I kind of in a weird spot. So when I got invited to the live stream, it was 1-3. I was told. Well, I'd asked for the little button, like the little I guess, what do you call it? The thing that they click on to you send people that they click on and it goes to it.
A link?
Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta get a computer.
I knew that was coming. So I asked for the link, and it's got like the picture and everything. It says 510. So I'm like, oh shit, I am not ready for 510. So I'm calling you. I'm like, hey Tyler, do you want action on this? And then I'm calling, other friends who sometimes get action on my tournaments and selling. And then I get there and it's 1-3. Like I've sold this action because I'm now bought in for 1,500, and then get there, I have way more chips than everybody else. and I'm like, what are the blinds? Like 1-3. I'm like, oh, okay.
They're like, it's 1-1-2 actually.
So which everybody's still buying in for a lot. It's still like 800 to 1,000, but you weren't even allowed. Like they just, I don't think they realized I bought in for that much, and on there it was. But I was completely just thrown. So we're playing obviously extremely deep.
Or at least you are.
I am so deep. I now have 500 big blinds. So there's a raise, a call, I think a raise, a call, comes around to, I think, the hijack, who then 3-bets it to 100. Comes back to me, and I'm in the small blind, and I have pocket kings.
Okay, so you're saying out of position you like a smaller raise here?
No, out of position, I like a bigger raise.
Okay, that's
here.
what I was about to say. I always thought I raised bigger out of position, and I would be raising bigger here.
So I make it 250.
I'm liking this.
So, which is a pretty big 4-bet. I mean, for a 4-bet size. I mean, obviously not a good 3-bet size, but 4-bet sizing. I mean, usually I usually do like 2.2 in position and like 2.5 out of position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm liking all this. This is what I was thinking.
Fold, and then a call. So, I mean, I'm like, this is, I think, my 6th hand into the stream. We're now, like, starting out with, like, a $500 to $60 pot or something.
Gonna be a good stream.
Yeah. So, get a flop of Jack 10, I think, 5.
Like a blank, okay.
Yeah, Jack 10, 5. I really like my pre-flop sizing. I did not like my flop sizing. I bet 250.
I was going to say a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I do not like this sizing at all. Especially considering this flop. Which I wasn't in love with this flop at all. Like, what do you... Because here was my theory. Like, I'm blocking ace-king. Aces are going to obviously 4-bet kings, and then queens, there's a good chance... 5-bet on there. Queens might 5-bet. Things that might call me here, seems like jacks and 10s are... I mean, it definitely seems like a possibility here.
I still always say they have ace king or nothing now.
Yeah.
That's what everyone says. They always have ace king. But I'm definitely thinking queens. I definitely see what you mean, though. It's kind of like jacks. Jacks and 10s seem like the only thing that, like you said, out of those hands that would lean toward the calling, not 5-betting.
Yeah, that was kind of... Well, I definitely thought queens is a possibility, but yeah.
Especially depending on how deep that guy is. Mm-hmm. It might just be correct for him just to go all in at that point, right? How deep? Because if you said some of them were 500 or 800?
He was pretty deep. He was pretty damn deep.
Okay, never mind then. Okay,
yeah.
I was just saying because he was shorter, they're definitely going all in over you. But okay,
But yeah, we both agree that this sizing's a mistake. That this needs to be a smaller sizing.
Yeah, I like smaller here.
So I would have probably leaned towards like maybe 180.
I was gonna say 175, but I feel like we're just picking at hairs.
Yeah,
pulling hairs.
Yeah, at this spot size, it's I mean we're looking at now 0.2% off.
Yeah.
So but I do make it 250, and I do get a call.
That's a little worrisome.
It's slightly worrisome. I'm not loving this already. If I didn't love it before, there's an ace on the turn.
I mean,
so, I
that,
obviously check it.
I mean, you should have just mucked. God, that would have been funny.
I check it. He jams all in.
For how much?
A
disaster
it was like
amount, right?
it was like another 470 or 430 or something. It was 400 and some change, I think. So not a huge bet into this pot, but I mean it's one of those that I was already concerned about jacks. I was already concerned about tens. I mean I tanked a little bit because I was, it's kind of weird just to assume he hits an ace here, but ace king, ace queen does seem available. And I couldn't think of anything in the world that was just. Well, unless you turn queens into a bluff. I mean,
kind of like you said though, he still could be playing tens and jacks like this very easily.
Yeah. So I mean, outside of just a weird stone cold bluff, I mean, just this hits so much of the range that I end up mucking. He does have ace king.
Oh, okay. Well, so how big did this pot end up being? Whenever he bet 400?
The pot was... God damn, it was so big.
Right, because it would be 500 pre-flop, right? And then you bet 400, so that's 900. So he's betting less than half pot here, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's a good fold. I mean, I'm happy you're right. I mean, I could definitely see where you could just shrug call. I mean,
trust me, I did think about it for a while, but I mean, I just couldn't think of anything other than like pocket queens bluffing here.
I mean, your reasoning is sound, but I'm saying I've definitely called a bet that I did not think I was going to win for less than half pot.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be right all that often, so yeah.
I mean, it just takes him being able to lose his mind once. I mean, good fold, because, like given those odds, I mean, like I said, I've shrug called with less.
Yeah. So that was a pretty hurtful one right at the beginning.
Dude, I'm kind of jumping around on you, but it's so brutal whenever, so I played on a live stream one time, and I got, it was 2 hands before the stream starts, and I get smacked for, $500 or $800 pot. Or not pot,
God.
like a $1,600 pot, but I get, rocked right at the beginning, and this is a shot take. So now I'm I'm on my second bullet, and we're about to start. I'm like, what? And it was one where I rivered the ace high flush, but he rivered a boat. But it was still a gigantic pot. But yeah, I mean, it's just talk about just putting the biggest damper on your live stream experience is getting hit like that early.
Oh, so early, yeah.
Especially mine, because no one even saw. Why is this guy so scared? I'm just wiping tears out of my eyes from hand one. I can't even play the hand. I'm just weeping.
Yeah, Tyler's VPIP's now going to be 1% because he's just on a second bullet that he didn't even plan on before it even started.
That might have been my first. No, it wasn't my first shot take. It was my first time on stream though.
Yeah.
Which
is probably pretty. Usually the stream games are usually bigger in Houston, so it's probably a pretty decent sized shot take, I would assume.
It was. It definitely was.
Yeah.
And I was definitely sad to lose that bullet.
Because, that was one of the. Obviously, I made it one of my poker goals to do live streams, which, tell you what, last year I made that, did not do one, blowing it out of the water this year. But that was one of the big reasons to do the live streams, too, is just that they're bigger games. I mean, if we're. Trying to get the best.
No, absolutely. I was just thinking that was funny. It just brought up the memory of that hand.
Oh, yeah. That's super hurtful. It's so we do what was the next one? So I have pocket nines. There's a raise There's a raise in several calls. I'm in the big blind. I just make the call.
Okay, I was about to say, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I don't love 3-betting these hands, especially in pots where you're most likely going to get called. I know there's probably like some good arguments against squeezing here. Arguments for squeezing, but in these games where this was kind of a loose, splashy game, I don't think I'm going to take it down that often. And there's not a lot of flops that are going to be great for me if it goes multi-way.
It's definitely going to be one where you try to squeeze, ton of people call, and you end up playing pocket nines out of position in a giant pot.
Yeah. So the flop comes 6, 7, 8.
That's nice. So we flop open-ended. Is there a flush draw or nay?
So I have an overpair, and I think there is a flush draw.
Okay.
This is one I played very unorthodox. I lead out for a fairly big size. Here's my theory behind this. This is a really good flop for me, and I've got good equity. It is a flop that is not good. Everybody's going to check to the preflop raiser. It's not a good board for the preflop raiser. Even with aces and kings, I think they could be checking this behind.
I think they probably should be.
I think they should be, 100%.
I mean, this multi-way, definitely.
So, this is one that I could use some protection. It might be... And then I can actually stand up to a raise with having an overpair and an open-ended straight draw. So, I donk into the preflop raiser. Fold, and then there's a random call, and then another fold. So it then goes heads up to the turn. The turn is a 10, giving me the straight, basically the nut straight.
Say, oh boy, we made it.
Yeah.
Say Jack 9 has something to say, but you block that, so we got the nuts.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, it's but so here was my thought here. I played this so unorthodox. I end up checking here. In my reasoning here was all my value hands that I was betting on the flop just went to shit. And all my bluffs pretty much just got there. So I'm like, once I bet here, I mean, this is so goddamn strong that I think he could, I mean, if this is a good player, he could folding a 2-pair or a set here. Because, I mean, there's just, I don't know what you would possibly be doing this with.
My thought, I like the thought right here. I agree with what you're saying. Here would be my kind of thought is I would think maybe betting really small, like 1/4 pot. Maybe it's him try to take it as a sign of weakness and he might raise you. Maybe. And you also get money in the pot. All this I kind of like. Because 2-pair, if you bet 1/4 pot, he's definitely calling.
Probably so, yeah. He's probably just to even draw for a boat, actually.
Yeah, exactly. That's just kind of my thought instead of checking, but you go ahead.
I kind of like that. I mean, I definitely would think that's a good line of thinking as well. So I like that as well. And I don't think I mind how I played this on the flop
I like
or
it. I was
turn either. But yeah, I like that as an alternative way.
Much easier to talk about what I would have done sitting here recording the podcast rather than with the 2 9s in my hand. So
here's a question: is in the spot when I have such a nutted hand, was it a mistake not to bet? I couldn't. I try to play somewhat balanced, and I could not find any bluffs here or much that wouldn't be the nuts. So that was my thought. Do you think I should be betting here?
Like I said, I would have bet about 1/4 pot, I think.
Okay.
But here's my thought about whenever you say, is it a mistake or not, or what I should have, is I like the play as long as you have good reasoning behind it.
That's probably a good call.
Right? So,
yeah.
I mean, what your breakdown of why the check happened, I agreed with and thought it was good. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind the check just because it was a well thought. I wasn't a random button click, which that I don't like. So it had good reasoning behind it. So I like that. I think I would have bet 1/4 pot, but that's just, I don't really mind either one.
Okay. So the river is a complete blank. I think it was like a 3. And I bet it was about half pot.
Like in all this. Because again, you're trying to get called by the 2 pairs, right?
Yeah, well, and I'm representing like a pretty, like, I mean, this is kind of a thin value bet, I think. Or, shit, I don't know. Maybe there's a bluff. Maybe I have like a 5, like 6, 7, 8. Like maybe I have a 5 that, didn't get there or something. Like 5 and a pair or something. So, yeah, I was trying to get called kind of light here after the check on the turn. Mm-hmm. And he does. He calls me pretty light. He calls me with a pair of 7s.
Yeah, like, I thought that's pretty well played, the whole hand. I like that.
So yeah, I thought that was an interesting hand just because it was an unorthodox play on the flop and a very unorthodox play on the turn.
Here's something interesting. I think your turn check did get you paid on the river, though.
I agree, 100%.
Because I think if you would have bet 1/4 pot and he calls that, and then you try to go for some thin value, I think he folds.
I agree. I agree with all that as well.
Because this makes it look like you're trying to kind of buy the pot at the end. Which is kind of a decent hero spot for him.
I thought it was a horrible hero spot for him, really.
Well, no. I'm saying if he thinks you're ever buying it.
I'm as
saying
far as just like thinking like I'm trying to buy it here. Yeah. It was because when he called with just a 7 there, I was like, I don't know. Like, there's value. I mean, like I say, it's just a very tough spot when the bluffs get there. Because I mean, like the value already had you beat, and then when a 9, now the random 9, which is something I could do that with a flop. Maybe there was a flush draw out there. Maybe it could be he was just thinking it was a busted flush draw. Maybe,
or maybe he just thought you were trying to just buy the pot from on stream. He didn't want to get bluffed on stream. That could be a thing.
You know what? I probably don't take that into account enough. Is that how the stream can change plays like that?
No, 100%. And like I said, if he had his own reasoning behind it, like you said, not a great hero spot, but if he thinks you're bluffing there sometimes and you bet small on the river and he thinks you're trying to buy it, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
So I'm going to leave on kind of a cliffhanger here because I will say I was down on this stream more than I've ever been down.
Yeah, you know what's super sad? Whenever I have action on that and I tune in to see you down more than you've ever been down, I was like, wow.
Oh, trust me. The story goes. That's not where the story ends. There is something. So there were a lot more interesting hands, but we are running out of time, and we're kind of up against it. So what I am going to say is this comes out actually today, right?
This comes out in 5 hours.
Okay, well then, if you want, I will be playing on the stream Friday. I guess what would technically be tomorrow if you're listening to this the day it comes out. On the playing 5-5 on the Champions live stream. Swing by and come say hi. Drop a like to kind of support a club that's really doing it right in Houston.
I think the easiest way to find the stream is YouTube. That's how I've had the best luck. If you're looking for the stream, go into the YouTube link. Just type in Champions. And
Champions Poker. And
it'll come up and it'll say live. But I'm just saying, because when I was looking for it, I was like, where, that's probably the easiest and fastest way to find it.
Yeah, it's we hope to see you there, and we will, and like I say, I'll be back with the story of me being down maybe more than I ever was. Actually, I think I've ever been down on a stream game, and what exactly happens.
Well, this has to be more than you've ever been down ever, right?
I think so.
Not just in a stream game.
Oh, I mean, that's what I meant to say. Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
I meant to say more than ever, but on stream and then on a stream.
There you go. All right, we'll talk to you next week.
That was the Texas Poker Podcast. Go ahead and rack up, add time, and we'll see you next week.